Oh my goodness, we're back again, Scorekeepers. We in this. Welcome back to the score. It is the second of our clip shows, I guess, for lack of a better word. I feel like that makes it sound so cheap.
Best of series.
Retrospective.
Yes.
There we go. Our 2021 retrospective, child.
I like that.
Yeah, that's real classy based. Happy Kwanzaa.
Happy Kwanzaa.
Happy
to
Kwanzaa.
you.
Happy Kwanzaa, everybody. Hope you and
Are
yours.
there Kwanzaa songs? Right? There must not be, because we'd know them.
I
don't know.
Before I let go. I don't know. Oh, okay.
Oh, dear.
We've been recording for a long time now. Any hoodles, we hope you all are enjoying, whatever you all are out there celebrating, that you are having a wonderful time with family and friends, or if you don't celebrate anything at all and you're just taking this time to just rest and rejuvenate and get ready for whatever effery 2022 has in store for us, hiding in your bunker away from Omicron. Sending shout outs to you as well. And once again, here is another set of some of our favorite moments from the past year. I think this is going to be mostly stuff from the summer, fall, and I guess the brief little kiss of winter.
And it was quite a kiss.
It was quite a kiss. It was a big old tonguey French sloppy. There you go. But we hope you all enjoy, and we will see you on the other side with another installment of Pure Black Joy. Enjoy. Woo-hoo! There are two activists standing before me, but I only have one picket sign in my hands. Okay, do y'all remember that weird, crazy, dystopian nightmare fuel of a reality show, The Activist, that CBS had announced a few months ago, where I guess they were going to find the best activist with Usher and Julianne Hough and whoever else. Well, we certainly do. And we had a lot to say about it. So to start off our second best of show, here is a little snippet of that conversation. Y'all, we have something to talk about today.
Yes, we do.
And it's very... Okay. So we are recording this on Wednesday, September 15th. So I don't know what will happen between now and Monday. Perhaps we will get the news that The Activist, the upcoming show on CBS, has been canceled or some such.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, it seems as though it's going forward as planned and premiering on October 22nd. I don't know why I'm talking like this is an ad for the show.
This is not an endorsement. It is not an endorsement.
It is not. Lee, when you sent us that Deadline article, I started reading through it, and I thought you were punking us. I thought Ashton Kutcher was about to come out of my closet. I thought, and then I was like, well, surely this is an Onion article. It was not. What the whole F?
Right. It is not an Onion article. It is not a Black Mirror episode. It is a real CBS show that clearly made it through multiple rounds of conversation to be premiering next month.
So many people had to be like,
yes.
Yeah.
This is a wonderful idea.
This is a wonderful
Here
idea.
are millions and millions of dollars.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I guess for people who don't know, do you want to lay out the premise of this television program?
I will. Yes, I will share what it is. So in a format very similar to Kel Surprise, The Apprentice, the activist.
Oh no, not The Apprentice.
Yes, that is what we're doing because, here we are over here in America.
Oh my God.
The Activist is a new reality competition show where 6 activists from around the world will be invited to, quote, bring meaningful change to one of 3 urgent universal causes: health, education, or the environment. So you literally are going to have a reality show where activists will be competing in your, your reality show style, mini competitions every week, mini challenges as the case may be, to do what was described as missions, media stunts, digital campaigns, and community events aimed at garnering attention for one of the issues that they're bringing up, right? And whomever at the end of the season outlasts all of the others will win a certain amount of money for their issue. So while somebody's heart was clearly in a particular place, their brain was not in the same place, I'm thinking. Because if this doesn't sound like some televised version of the oppression Olympics that many of us analogize conversations to frequently, I don't know what is. Like, this is literally asking people to come on and argue about whether, I don't know, climate justice or reproductive rights or equitable housing is more worthy of funding than these other issues in this kind of TV competition context. And as a person who watches a lot of reality TV competitions, obviously Drag Race, a lot of cooking shows, Making It, a really awesome crafting show with Amy Poehler and Nick Offerman. Like, I love shows where people are getting to show their skills, their craftiness, their clever artistry that is not typically recognized. I cannot wrap my mind around this as a concept. And I do not understand how 2 of the 3 hosts, Usher and Priyanka Chopra, who I think are frequently people who have said things that sound like things that I might agree with in public spaces, got roped into this. The other host is Julianne Hough. I don't know a ton about her except that she was on Grease Live and I wasn't here for it, and that she did blackface. And I'm also not here for that.
Yeah.
No.
But, I'm at a loss, y'all. This is a real thing premiering in 5 weeks, unless somebody comes to their senses and realizes that, this kind of turning activism into the Hunger Games is not the thing that we're doing right now, right?
I mean, I don't know. The drip must have gone to Usher's brain. Because allegedly. Like, I mean, I'm just speechless.
Yeah.
I just realized I don't even know why Usher would choose something like this. And that is because I thought up until now, he's been one of those folks who's a little smarter about these things and just doesn't speak on what he doesn't know about. And somebody on his team said he should change that, and that wasn't a good idea. And he really should have left it that way. There's just things go wrong so often when people who are primarily entertainers, and not that I'm saying you can't also be educated on activism and politics, that's not what I'm saying,
no.
But are asked to have an opinion on those things. Things just like don't typically go well when that happens.
No, they don't. And the fact that they're actually trying to bring some real politics into this conversation, this TV things being crafted for our entertainment, right? And not everything is supposed to entertain us. And the fact that part of the winter package, along with, you know, your Anastasia of Beverly Hills and your costume jewelry, like whatever else they're offering, they will attend the G20 summit. So it's like somebody gets what's supposed to happen at the end of successful activist activities. They just don't understand the appropriate form for. I don't know. I feel like I'm giving somebody more credit than
I really think you are. I mean, I understand that it's, you know, Global Citizen is involved, and, you know, on paper, it doesn't even make any sense. Like, I'm trying to give someone some sort of credit somewhere where, like, perhaps the intention of this is good, but, like, I just can't help, like, that video that I sent you all, like the woman on Twitter who was just like, your climate justice proposal, it's a no from me, dog. Like, I just can't, like, and the thing that, like, I just can't abide, right, is, like, it would be one thing if, like, they just went, like, full dystopian nightmare. Yeah. And it was like, okay, like, you know.
Commit to it.
Yeah, like the three of you, like, we have filled this Olympic-sized pool with crude oil. You need to swim to the other side, get a duck that's trapped in the oil, swim back to the other side. Whoever gets the duck the cleanest with Dawn dish soap available at your local store, like, gets like $50,000 for their charity and 30 seconds to tell America why they should donate to it. Like, that would be like, okay, like, at least, like, you're just, like, going whole hog. Right. Like, this is just like super just Trumpian America. Like, we can just, like, sit back and just, like, you know, just vomit all over ourselves and just, yeah. But you know what they're going to do? They're going to turn it into this, like, treacly, modeling, inspiration porn. It's going to all be like, well, no, it's just, you know, we're starting the conversation, you guys. We're starting the conversation. We're inspiring all of these people to start thinking about climate justice. Okay, great. All this conversing, all this thinking, cool. The world is literally on fire. So perhaps we could have taken all of those millions of dollars for like, that went into this production, that went into Priyanka and Usher's salaries, and actually put some of that money towards some of these things that these activists are going to be on this show talking about. Like, it just seems so obvious to me that, like, it's scary that, like, not one person, like, not one executive, like, not, like, one intern, like, came in and, like, sort of heard what was going on and, like, dropped his tray of lattes on the floor and was like, this is not good. You all should stop doing this. I know you're going to fire me, but this is a bad idea. Like, not one person did that.
I mean, this is what I want to know, right? And we get pitched all the time working at an opera company. There are people who are like, oh, here's a piece that I wrote. Was this the thing that y'all produce? Here's an idea for a program I have. Is this the thing that y'all can do? And some of these are good ideas and some of these are not good ideas, right? And we have a mechanism for having a discussion about, can we pull this off? Does this make sense in the context of the work we do? Are we the right organization to deliver a product like this? How is that like not a thing at CBS? You mean to tell me of the 10,000 people who must work for Viacom that like nobody was sitting back thinking, this doesn't sound right? Or aren't people going to laugh at us? Like if nothing else is the motivation, like why didn't somebody say, this is not going to look cute in 280 characters? Like we should sort of backpedal off of this. Like I can't believe that nobody in the building stood up and said, hey, is this it?
And then furthermore, it's like, okay, so like what were the 3 areas of interest again, or a focus rather?
Health, education, and the environment.
Okay. All worthy causes, of course. But in America 2021, no one is talking about racial equity?
I was just going to say, so are y'all telling me that you're really, if we're going to like get to the true tea of like environmental justice, are y'all really going to talk about environmental racism or like who's most being impacted the most by far by environmental disasters right now? Are y'all really going to talk about like right now as we're speaking, like the inequitable hurricane relief, like, or anything like that?
Or if we're going to talk about health, we're not going to talk about medical racism.
Like,
and this is
what?
This is no shade to the folks on the panel, because I think if they were judging, you know, some version of So You Think You Can Dance, I think this would probably be a perfect panel. But my question is, let's say that you were completely serious about producing a show like this. How did you get those 3 names as the people who would assess whether or not these activists were effective at their work in health, education, and the environment? There is not an MD, an MPH, a PhD, an EDD on the panel. Like, I do not understand. And I say this as a person who, if you want to take this back to 1993, my love of Usher in those days was intense, profound. He earned that poster that was on my wall. Like I really was at one point in my life a huge fan of his. But nevertheless, skip me. I got nothing on this one.
I was going to say, when I first heard this, I thought 2 things. My immediate reactions were, this sounds a lot like the Hunger Games. And like you're asking people to compete over something that is like actually like vital to them, or, well, I don't know anything about the contestants, but vital to somebody.
Yeah.
And you're making it other people's entertainment. Okay. Also, as somebody who, you know, does some organizing and knows people who are organizers, I was like, do they know how freaking hard that job already is?
Yeah.
And you want to ask people to compete? Like compete to be some top activist? Like what do they win? Like being overworked, being got, having a personal FBI agent, like what is that phrase? Win, play silly games, win silly prizes. Yeah,
exactly.
I think that's
exactly.
We've learned nothing from the Sean King debacle. I mean, clearly, right? Like activism is not a game, and it is certainly not a TV show, not this kind of TV show.
Please don't say his name 3 times in a row or he appears.
That's the nicknames for me.
Oh my God. That was Black Twitter at its absolute best.
Absolutely. It was just like, I love us.
The whole thing is astounding. I am very curious about the target demo. Like, who out here do they think is watching this, right? Because I feel like most progressive people are hearing this and hearing, oh, this sounds wrong, right? And I would imagine if people are on the more conservative side of the spectrum, this is probably not a thing that's of interest. So who is really sitting at home saying, this is exactly what I'm looking to do with my Wednesday nights or whatever? Like I help me.
I know it's not the young people because they be socialist at 13 these days. So I don't know who it's for.
Just the idea that like some dude is sitting around going like, oh yeah, I donated to Kyle Rittenhouse's, GoFundMe last week. But, I sat down and I watched The Activist and they were talking about saving whales. And you know what? my mind has changed. My heart is open. Like what?
I've been really trying to figure out in the last few days, like what this is about, because everything about it like nothing there, the kernel of logic is just missing from all of it. It's missing from the idea. It's missing from the network that's going to carry it, because a lot of what is on CBS is not speaking to the folks who I think they thought they were targeting. And then, of course, this judging panel.
Well, I think it's just a case of like, people wanting to have their cake and eat it too. And I had a similar reaction to, and I know that this has been discussed to death at this point, but, Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez's dress at the Met Gala, and I absolutely admire Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez. I think she's tenacious. I think she's brave. I think she speaks truth to power. But that dress, if you all didn't see it, she wore a beautiful white dress that said "Tax the Rich" in big red letters as she's going into, a $30,000 ticket event at the Met. And I think it's great that it was, designed by a Black woman. She is, supporting artists of color. I understand that she did not pay for her $30,000 ticket. I understand that she did not buy the dress, that she was just modeling the dress. However, when I say have their cake and eat it too, it's just like these, especially in the wake of last year, I think we were talking on one of our earlier episodes, like one of our greatest fears is that, there's all of this, movement, all of this, excitement when it comes to progressive causes, specifically racial equity. In the wake of George Floyd's murder, it's been this year of, hope and reconciliation and healing and whatnot. And so things like that dress, things like this television show are the ways that it's like, oh, see, like we're not down with capitalism. We're not down with racism. We're not down with, misogyny and all of those things. And like, here's how we're signifying that. But at the same time, behind the scenes, we're making all of this money so that we actually can continue like perpetuating the same system. Yeah. And it's just, it makes me so angry because it really is, it's for me, doing this work day in and day out, accepting this position, looking at the two of you doing such wonderful work, seeing all of the people around the country who are doing this work, who really care about this, who really want to see the world change, who are really down there in the muck, like fighting every day. It makes me so angry on their behalf. Because it's just, it's exactly the word that Julianne Hough used. It's so performative and fake and so obvious. And so obvious.
Yeah.
So pivoting back to opera real quick, this past July we were blessed to be joined by Asian American tenor Andrew Stenson, whose career has just been blowing up these past couple of years. And we had a chat with him about what it's like to be a person of color, performing night after night in opera halls across the country, across the world, really. And what is that pressure like, we asked him. That pressure to, be excellent, to represent, and to succeed. And he gave us a really thoughtful and nuanced answer. And so here's Andrew.
Yeah,
I remember as a kid, I went to this very sort of, quote unquote, elite, sort of prestigious private school in the DC area. And I had this one teacher I remember as my 10th grade English teacher. And my mom came back from a parent teacher conference. The only time I've ever heard her refer to anyone as a blue-eyed devil. But he just hated me on sight because I just was like, smart and like driven and sort of interested in the material and in challenging him. And he gave me a C on a paper once that was not a C paper. And that was that moment that I was just like, you know what? I'm going to, from now on, like, make everything just unimpeachable. Like, will have no choice but to give me an A. So, like, that story just completely resonates with me. I'm no Larry Brownlee, obviously, but maybe I will be.
The one thing, too, the flip side of that, too, is for especially like people of color to trailblaze in this industry, you must not only, you must be exceptional to sit at the level playing field.
Yeah.
And that is an incredible burden.
I mean, so much pressure.
So much. Yeah. We've talked about that. And I mean, I've heard people in all sectors of the performing arts talk about that, even among us administrators as well. And feeling like there's so few, or there's a scarcity, mindset of, what you have to compete for, and then having, tough skin because you're scrutinized that much more. And I was going to ask a different question, but now I'm curious, like, what do you do? What do you do to stay grounded, like in dealing with that pressure, or, what do you come back to build yourself back up? And even if it's other people or colleagues, like, what does that look like for you?
For me personally, I've talked to a lot of colleagues about this stuff too. Everyone in the arts, they have like those handful of experiences, those shows that for me personally, I always feel like I'm doing my best work, and I feel the best at work when I feel like I'm part of a team. Mm-hmm. And that we as an ensemble, a cast, a company, et cetera, we can say something with one voice, and that everyone feels equal, that no person is more important or less important than the other, that we all depend on each other. And knowing that some people have your back and that are able, when you can't lift any longer, someone else will be able to lift. That is all the comfort in the world as a performer to me, no matter how hard it gets. And that's always the kind of thing, one of the greatest things I felt like I've ever been a part of was to be a part of Candide. And Candide has like magic powers for some reason. And it was such an intense show. And the moment downbeat happened, you were just running, going. It was like doing a musical. You just have no time to breathe. You have no time to think of your lines. You maybe have time for a glug of water. And then you just go to the next scene, and you see it, because Candy is front and center most of the time, but every other person in the cast is furiously changing, running left and right, moving set pieces, etc. And if something does get moved or something does get locked, somebody could get hurt, and you have to have a lot of trust in everyone else as well to make it happen. And when we are just kind of going, and we get to garden at the end, we all take a big pause, we all look out, and we say something together. And that metaphorically, I guess, for the piece, but also from the literal work that we're doing, that the struggle for something like that is worth it when you have people to share that experience with. And so facing these things in certain environments, knowing that you have people in the world who will face those struggles with you. You know, that's like, as we continue to develop our Asian community in the industry, you know, Vu was in that show in Candide. And I remember talking like that, that panel with Theater Mu. It's such an event for me personally to be in a show with other Asian people that, you know, Kristen Choi is Pat Cadden. She's like a sister to me. You know, I've just had the opportunity to bond with these people so much, and I feel very close to them, and I feel like we are in this fight together, and that's a reason to keep going and a reason to get up in the morning.
So for episode 11, we played another round of Fire That Canon with our amazing, brilliant former colleague, sadly, the Reverend Dr. Rebecca Blackwell. And she, well, she read Aida to filth. So enjoy this snippet of us talking about our thoughts about Aida. All right, so we're going to go to our second and final opera of the day, which is Giuseppe Verdi's Aida, librettist Antonio Ghislanzoni. Huh?
I like it.
Thank you. It's my specialty. Do you like some Ghislanzoni? It premiered on Christmas Eve, 1871. Aida is an Ethiopian princess held captive in Egypt, in love with a general, Radames, and he with her. When he is chosen to lead a war with Ethiopia, we follow the conflict of Aida's love for both Radames and for her country. Do we keep it, or do we fire the cannon? I'll start with you, Paige.
I keep it with stipulations. With some guidelines. No more white Aidas. That's it.
What about, wait, what about Anna Netrebko?
One more time for folks in the back of the room.
I think we just got our episode title.
That's it. Yeah. Just no more white. Every Ethiopian I have met, personally, has been black.
Pretty much.
There may be, there's probably non-black Ethiopians out there somewhere, but they're sparse.
Right, and they
sparse.
can't always be Aida. Like that's not how that shakes out.
No. So yeah. Well, okay. Actually, in my world, it's not just Aida. It's anybody who's part of her posse, her crew, her squad, her nation, whatever. Yeah. No more.
Your facial expressions are taking me out.
Because I feel very strongly about it, but I'm trying not to cuss.
The score director's cut.
Late night score.
I'm with you, Paige. I like Aida. There's a lot that I like about it, and it's an opera I would love to direct. So if anybody...
That's a big job.
It is a big job. If anybody's got the budget and is looking for somebody to pull you together an old nasty piece of Aida, please reach out to me on LinkedIn or Facebook. I think it's a very interesting work. I have a lot of ideas about it. I have seen not very many satisfying productions, and a lot of it has to do with how it is cast, and then also like some of the weird Orientalism with like, you know, it's put together in a curious way. And I think if, you know, we're really sort of thinking about what we know of the time and sort of ethnic migration patterns and who was living where when, I'm not convinced that Aida and Amneris would have looked different, right? And what kind of production is that? You know, so there are lots of things that I would be interested in seeing with the piece, but I don't know that I need to see another like all white Aida ever.
I feel like your Aida would be fierce.
Yes.
I think so, because I also have
so.
sketched out a couple costumes.
Ooh.
Whoever's listening and has a budget,
There we go. Yeah.
come on. You have our email.
Dance.
Now I'm interested.
Now I want to see that.
Dance. Yeah.
Like you're like on the 1s and 3s, or you're
Oh
nowhere.
no.
No, I mean, I am firmly on the 2 and the 4, but the flexibility is not what it used to
I
be.
see.
Yeah. When I was duck walking around the house, it was a very quick thing because those knees kicked in, and I was like, okay, my dancing days are over.
Well, at least you got down there and you tried.
Yeah.
I sure did.
You gave it the old cut. Rebecca.
Okay, I have to admit, I was a little surprised we're not firing. It doesn't sound like we're firing this canon. So maybe the thing here is responsibly, right? What's the casting like? What's the direction like? Of course, under Lee Bynum, it would be incredible. So I am intrigued by this. You know, what can we do with Aida to tell this story responsibly? I think at the end of the day, I'm still a little hung up on who wrote and told this story about two countries in the height of 19th century imperialism. That's not a story about Egypt or Ethiopia. That's a story about Europe.
Yeah.
And decontextualized with these stereotypes, the Orientalism, as you were mentioning, that's still perpetuating oppression. You know, like at that time, Orientalism was used to promote imperialism, to make other countries vulnerable to imperialism by putting out these stereotypes. And I think that Aida does a lot of that. And Italy occupied Ethiopia in the 20th century. So like what did that art serve historically in terms of oppression? And you can't art, you know, there's this like art doesn't have to be political. Why are you making it about race? You wrote an opera about race for political purposes. So I don't it's such incredible like societal amnesia that we can put up Aida and say, I don't understand why we need to talk about these things. So okay, I won't fire it, but I think anyone putting up this opera needs to dig deep into that conversation and understand the origins of this storytelling.
Okay, 2 snaps for
I'm
you.
so glad that you sort of brought that, because
Yes.
I always kind of feel like that moment sits very uncomfortably, I think, especially for the Italians, with like the Battle of Adwa and like Menelik and Tatu, and the fact that Italy, in its, you know, aspirations of being able to colonize Ethiopia, had 99 problems, right? And I feel like that is also, for me, part of why it's interesting, right? How can we use it as a commentary on this failed colonial experiment? But I really like what you said, and I want to sit with it and spend even more time thinking about imperialism than I already do, because it does rear its ugly head in our art at all times, right?
Yeah.
And what are we supposed to do with that? You know?
I do wonder, how do we feel, or how would we feel about a production of Aida or understanding of Aida where it's not through this same colonial gaze, and maybe, like, for instance, it actually recognizes that Ethiopia is in Africa and doesn't try to make it its own, act like North Africa is its own continent, or like Europe Junior. Like so what about an Aida that like I feel like maybe that starts there would be real different. And like looking at it through the lens of like Black or like African women's leadership would be much more powerful. You're welcome for whoever I gave that nugget to.
I love all of these ideas. Like, this is fascinating.
Yeah.
When we get this $100 million from Bezos, we are going to make a production.
We're going straight to the moon.
I was gonna say, we're going to space.
In a Hitachi magic wand.
that goes on the director.
So it sounds like we're going to keep it for now.
With some guidelines.
Yeah.
Paige will write down the guidelines.
Yes. There'll be some rules going forward for anyone who wants to produce it, but we will keep it for now. So on episode 15, same episode where we talked about the activist, we were joined by professor and composer Trevor Weston, my Bayesian cousin, who treated us to a masterclass, just a masterclass. Seriously, if you haven't listened to that episode, please go back and listen to it because it's so great. But just all about Black contributions to classical music, the classical music tradition, the creation of, the new American sound. And I ended up learning so many things that I had no idea about. And it really was a special conversation. So here is a small snippet of that.
So I also teach in the MAP and pre-college program at Juilliard. And this year, I was asked by Weston, who was the dean pre-college, to teach an elective course, and I gave him a few ideas. So I'm teaching a course called Creating the American Sound. So we've had one class so far, and we talked about, what is America? Why do we have to talk about creating the sound? But in doing so, I've gone back and looked at the writings of Dvorak. We're going to discuss that next week. We've only had one class. But I know that he was interviewed by Harper's New Monthly. And I've always seen quotes from that. But everyone should read the whole kind of discussion that he lays out. Because he's responding to critics, saying, I know I'm not from here, but this is what I think. And so he said, it's a proper question to ask what songs then belong to the Americans, to the American, and appeal more strongly to him than any others. Okay. The most potent as well as the most beautiful among them, according to my estimations, are certain of the so-called plantation melodies and slave songs, all of which are distinguished by unusual and subtle harmonies, the like of which I found in no other songs but those of old Scotland and Ireland. The point has been argued that many of these touching songs, like those of Foster, meaning Stephen Foster, have not been composed by the Negroes themselves, but are the work of white men, while others did not originate on the plantation, but were imported from Africa. It seems to me that this matters but little. One might as well condemn the Hungarian Rhapsody because Liszt could not speak Hungarian. And to me, that's powerful because Stephen Foster wrote coon songs, coon songs coming from minstrelsy. So that was the tradition of white Americans first imitating Black music. So at the same time ridiculing our music, but also in a way weirdly enamored with it. And that's been the history of American music.
I mean, I was going to say that continues up to this day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Dvorak is like, I don't care who did it. You're all doing Black music. Like, that's kind of my takeaway. Like, I don't care who wrote it. It's still coming from the same source. And in essence, that's who you are. And that's what you need to focus on. Because if you think about it, why is Porgy and Bess so big? Because Gershwin created an opera that sounds like music from Black folk. I mean, and that has always appealed to all Americans. We can't have hip hop, you can't have funk, you can't, go down the list. Even now, the way people talk, when I was a kid, I was in class the other day and a kid said bet. I said, excuse me, what did you say? And the funny thing is, like, he was trying to explain it to me, like, no, I know what it means, but it's just, I grew up with, that's my music, and to hear, a co-ed from a predominantly white school saying bet is something I never thought I'd experience. So even the way Americans express themselves verbally is coming from our tradition. And it's not like we're saying you have to do that. It's been American forever to figure out what we're doing. As my father used to say, people taking the subway uptown to see how the Black people dressed, how they walked, how they spoke, and how they danced. Black people weren't inviting them up there. So like, hey, come and dance like us. That never happened. So that's the reality of who we are. So I think that when it comes to, what is American music and what should institutions do, they need to reflect what America actually is and base the music on that. I mean, then you'd have more people connecting or more people obviously involved because it's a true reflection of what American music is.
Okay, wow. So I'm going to make a quick note to enroll in Juilliard and take your class.
So for episode 19, we were joined by living legend, Twin Cities theater icon, activist, educator, Mychael Rambo, who just came through and he's just amazing. He really is just so smart and compassionate, such a huge heart, such a brilliant artist. And I couldn't choose just one clip, so I went with two. So first, we're going to hear from him about his use of the term people of the global majority, which I would like to submit to the council as a replacement, perhaps, for the term BIPOC. I just think it's really lovely, especially the way that he explains, the way that it resonated for him, and hopefully it resonates with you all the same way. And second, we're going to hear just really some of the most beautiful, heartfelt advice to young artists. Well, really, as Lee says, to middle-aged artists as well, but I think to all artists, no matter, where you, how old you are, where you're from, et cetera, et cetera. It just really hit me right in the feels. So if you're looking for some inspiration to get out there and create something beautiful in 2022, I hope you will heed his advice, because Lord knows we need some beautiful things in 2022. So enjoy. So one thing that I'm curious about, one of the running themes of this show is we have been trying to find an alternative for the term BIPOC, which I guess for those of you who don't know, I'm sure probably all of you know, but Black, Indigenous, people of color. And a few weeks ago, Lee told us about something that he heard from you, actually, which is people of the global majority. And I just loved it so much. Actually, we loved it so much that we named our episode that a couple of weeks ago. But I'm just curious, where did that come from? And how can we make it catch on? Because I really want it to catch on.
It came out of it happened in two ways. Ananya, Ananya's last name I'm challenged in saying it correctly, so I'm not going to butcher it. But Ananya's dance company and Sarah Bellamy and a number of us were doing a walk. We were walking through the communities, showing community support, and we were walking from each direction, from people from the East Arts community, St. Paul, the West, the North, and the South, and we converged in St. Paul. And one of the walkers said, "Look at us, we're just a global majority." Mm. And when when she said it, one of the walkers said it in a way that just was kind of like, and it resonated with me. And then I went into another conversation that was facilitated by a sister whose name now is going to escape me, but she does social justice work, and she convened a group of people together through theater, 10,000 Things Theater, and she said global majority in her conversation. I was like, "Chad, that's who we are," and I say it, and I own it, and I embrace it, because it is time for people who stand in this work. I'm going to go back by deconstructing why I'm never and always sidestep BIPOC. It's divisive, it's divisive, it's binary, and it's more the same. Black, indigenous, and the rest of y'all folk. Other people. People of color. White folk, you color. You got color. Sometimes it's red, sometimes it's all color. Everybody got color. So it just all of a sudden for me became just a way of saying, well, anybody else. And it felt very flip and very like with no agency. And just like, I don't even know who came up with it, but whoever came up with it thought it was really clever. And I said, no, it's not clever. I either say African American, I say Black and brown bodies, I say people of varying communities, I say people who have a loving heart and a breathing affection, a loving heart and a breathing affection. I talk about all these different things, and then I said global majority is who we are. We are no longer a minority. We never have been a minority. We've always been a majority, and we have embraced a capitalist. We have embraced a Eurocentric. We have embraced a construct that continues to submerge us in a belief system that we are less than. We are marginalized, disenfranchised, a minority of people who need to find a way to really be more. We've always been more. We are more. We are more. There are more of us as a global majority than any other group of people on the planet, but yet we consistently live in a country that says that we're minorities. I don't get that. I don't believe it. And while it's hard for people to hear when I say it, and then you're like, global majority? What are you talking about? It sounds so. I said, because that's true. And that's what we really have to remember, that there's power in all of our bloodline. And the vast majority are indigenous people. Yes, this is true. But we are a majority, and we have a right to stand in that truth. And we have a right to remind those who choose to relegate us to a less than, a marginalized status, that that's not who we are. And that's why there's so much fear, and that's why there's so much conflict, and there's so much vitriol and animosity, and so many levels of things that are hurled against global majority members, because we can't have that, because how can what we've created work? So if we want to dismantle racism and systemic racism and white privilege, we have to recognize that white privilege comes by letting people believe that they're less than. And so global majority is who I think we are, and who I know we are.
Knowing that you're an educator as well, I wonder what do you say to young artists who are emerging and who also want to see and be a part of some of these changes that you're describing, because they don't like the inequity that they see either. So what advice do you give to young artists?
The biggest advice I give to young artists is to plant your feet, claim your space, and speak to the room. And to be fearless, and to commit to being unstoppable, and commit to being a force of nature. And whether that be a tsunami or a hurricane or a beautiful rainbow that trickles down like leaves cascading to the ground below. We have to really do what we can to be the experts of our experience to the extent that we make sure that others hear what that story is. And so I tell students all the time to be as well read as possible, to seek original sources, to resist the urge to welcome the words of others as truth without knowing your own truth, because their truth becomes yours. And that is not always accurate. It's oftentimes to our own detriment, you know. And so we have to find our own truth. And so I ask young people to really be willing to be uncomfortable for a while, whether that be not having immediate gratification and having the best ear pods or doing, but to know that this too shall pass. Or as my great grandmother on my father's side would say, baby, it's going to be okay. And even if it's not okay, it's going to be okay. And it took me years to understand when she would say that, what that meant. But it's like, this too shall pass, but it's going to be okay. And even if it's not okay, with time, with being mature and adult and learning the lessons of life, it will be okay. So there's no reason to be ruffled and uncomfortable, not uncomfortable, but just like fearful that your time won't come. It will come. And it's just a matter of being present. And being present is a difficult thing for our culture right now. Being just in the moment. More and more people are talking about it, but doing it is hard work. And I find I'm challenged by it all the time. I'm challenged by being silent and being able to listen and being able to just hold my space. I want what I want, and I want it now. I'm a big king baby. You know, I have to watch those things. And I think also I tell young people, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. And we've heard that before, you know.
I mean, that is a word.
And so I really encourage them to always find 2 or 3 other people who you either don't agree with, don't align yourself with, or don't know as much as. Because that's how you'll get to know what your own truth is. Because, you know, it's like we never really know who we are until we know who we're not. If that makes any sense. We never really know who we are until we find out who we are not. And that happens when we're in rooms with people who don't look like us, who don't agree with us, who are smarter than us. And it's okay for somebody to be, I mean, I love it. That lead man right there next to you, that's a smart little braided. And I just met him, he'd be holding the cuts like, y'all need to know. I'm listening to you, I'm conjugating the verbs for you, I'm clocking your tenses, because I know what you're going to do. I be watching people. I'll be watching them. But yeah, so that's what I tell young people.
That's not just great advice for young artists, that was also some wonderful nuggets for middle-aged artists too.
So, ostensibly, The Score is a podcast that is dedicated to talking about issues that concern people of color in the opera world, classical music, theater, etc. And I don't know, maybe sometimes that can come off as a little highbrow and esoteric, perhaps. But I can assure you that we are, all 3 of us, ravenous consumers of media, pop culture aficionados. And so from time to time, the show takes a detour into issues that are happening in the zeitgeist. And we love to talk about, reality television, The Bachelorette, pop music, things like that. And so one of the things that we are constantly joking about is that, at times, like, maybe this should just be a RuPaul's Drag Race podcast, because Lee and I just have a deep, abiding love for both the domestic and international versions of the show. And so I guess it was this past summer, episode 14, we were just stupefied by the performance of one Silky Nutmeg Ganache in her... I can't remember what they were calling it, but basically she had to compete in like 17 lip syncs in a row to get back in the show, and each one was just more incredible than the last, and so we were just gagging over her eleganza. And so for our Pure Black Joy for episode 14, we just gave Silky her flowers, and we had a great time doing it. And so this is a little snippet of that conversation, but stay tuned because afterwards we've got a special Pure Black Joy for the end of 2021. I don't think I have to tell anybody that 2021 was a year. It was kind of rough. So we just want to end this year though on a good note, and just send blessings to all of you for 2022. Hope that it is a good year and that everyone stays safe and healthy. So stay tuned for that, and we will see you on the other side. Shifting gears entirely.
Yes, let's shift them.
I don't think we could be shifting gears anymore. Except, you know what? Silky Nutmeg Ganache.
Oh, we just have to. We have to take a minute.
Soldier of drag.
She really did. She did an extraordinary job.
We just have to give her flowers real quick.
Absolutely. It was one of the. Everybody on Drag Race tries to call themselves legendary for like a range of reasons. I'm the first girl to wear a purple sequin gown on a Tuesday night. Like
I did 2 death drops in a lip sync. Legendary status.
But that sweep through 6 girls in a row was legendary. I'm a huge lip sync fan. I grew up lip syncing in the mirror. My cousin and I would have all kinds of lip sync competitions, and I would win everything. So I have a special place in my heart for what Silky did. And I have been saying to anybody who would listen for the last couple of years that if Silky got the right showcase, she would demonstrate a skill set that I don't think came through nearly as clearly on her season as I was perceiving. I could always tell with Silky there was something more than we were getting to see, and some of that was also just like how Rue would respond to her. Like they would pan out to Rue and you see she's just beaming from ear to ear, and it's like, you like her for a reason. And she's just wonderful. Those are some great lip syncs, and even the one that she should have won, where she came out there chomping on those potato chips.
That Missy Elliott garbage bag suit.
See, I don't even watch it. I know I like her already.
Well, see, that's the thing, because I feel like if you watched her original season, she didn't come off very well.
Okay.
She was just she seemed very full of herself, not just like confident, but like arrogant. And then there were times when she had like the goods to back it up. Yeah. But then more often than not, it was like, girl, what are you doing?
Yeah, what is going on?
What is happening with your pads?
And the pads were an issue.
They were just an issue. And just, some of her choreography and jokes didn't land. But, she came back to this season and, she was talking about like she wasn't really able to book jobs because people were seeing her as this sort of like arrogant person that they didn't want to work with. That like a lot of her sort of like mistakes and like, foibles and whatnot were put into the final edit. Okay. So you didn't really get to see like the full width and breadth of her talent and everything that she was doing. And then she got eliminated like 3rd. Yeah. And so she comes back to the game within a game and then just mows down.
She wore them
Jiggly.
Yes.
And then
Jiggly is a good lip syncer.
She was, yes. And I mean, I was sad about that because I love Jiggly.
I love Jiggly too.
But,
yes.
But like Jiggly, and then I forgot who was after Jiggly. Oh, what's her face? Scarlet.
Yeah, Scarlet.
Whatever. And then Jan. And she's
Not
so
feeling
tired.
the Janissaire.
No.
No.
Then Pandora, which what even was that?
Pandora looked great though. I will say she looked good in that lip sync, even though it was clearly not a song she was going to be able to.
But she's doing Ariana Grande like dressed as like the madam from like a 1920s like Western like bordello. Like, what are you doing? Like this like lacy teddy with like this like big like silk robe that she was.
It really was.
It was just like victory curls and like no. Absolutely not. And then I was just gonna say, and then Eureka, and that was just tragic because she was trying to do a reveal, and got stuck in her
in
costume.
In the Missy
thing, and she was like trying to get out of it, and so it was like if she had gotten out of it, then she would have won.
I agree, or she just decided to stay in it, and just. But I will tell you where Silky got me, because Damien was never on the same page, and we have some knockdown drag-outs about Drag Race. But there was one of her early appearances on her season where she came on the runway dressed as Eveline from The Wiz. Mm-hmm. And it was so perfect. And I am one of those people, I could perform The Wiz right now.
Front to back,
top to bottom, all the roles.
I'm with you. I got the ad-libs in the background. I'll be the Munchkins. I'll be the Crows. I know all the parts.
We should have a whole show dedicated to The Wiz one day. But it was just something that did my heart just so good to see her come back and prove what she was saying about herself, right? Mm-hmm. And I feel like, we as people of color do not always get second chances in this country, right? And the fact that she came back and demonstrated, I meant what I said, I really am very, very good. And we all saw it.
And even though she didn't get back into the competition because she lost that last lip sync, I mean, she just cemented herself as just, like she said, the lip sync guru. Yeah. And, like, now she's going to be booked and busy for the rest of her life.
The rest of her life.
Everybody's going to want her to come in, like, oh, do you have the I forgot about the one where, so Akiria didn't.
Right. Oh, yes.
She didn't want to come back to participate. She got eliminated. And so she was like, no, thank you. Bye-bye. I'm leaving the competition for good. And Silky was like, okay, well, I'm taking this like very seriously and I have prepared a whole performance. So even though she's not here, I would still like to perform for you. And girl, she did Barbie Girl by Aqua. And she was dressed half as a woman, half as a man. And just like kept like going back and forth, and then started rolling across the stage,
Patti LaBelle style.
What?
It was amazing. And I don't usually sort of like lip syncs are fine, but like like there are certain ones where it's just like, oh my god, I can't, like Dita Ritz doing Natalie Cole,
right,
or Brooklyn Heights versus Evie Oddly doing the Demi Lovato. Like that one was amazing.
Yeah, that was
incredible. But like it has to be like really special for me to be like, ooh. And like when she started rolling across that stage, Silky, like, come on Barbie, let's go party, and then rolling over on her back, like I lost my S. Like it was amazing. So, big ups to Silky Nutmeg Ganache.
Absolutely.
You did that. And well, I think that's where we're going to leave it. Now I guess we're a drag race podcast.
We've always been a drag race
I guess
podcast.
we always have
been
been
a drag race or not.
Oakley dokely, we are back with Pure Black Joy, the final Pure Black Joy of 2021. And I will turn it over to whoever wants to go first.
Ooh, I will. It's peanut butter jelly time.
Oh yeah.
And
hit it, Paige. I told her I've lost my mind.
I had to get it in there.
Yes.
It's peanut butter jelly time. Peanut butter jelly time. Peanut butter jelly time. Peanut butter jelly. Peanut butter jelly. Peanut butter jelly.
Get it.
My snack for the soul is something I saw this past week from an artist I absolutely love, a Black country artist by the name of Valerie June.
I know her.
Yes, she is wonderful. Her music is beautiful. She's so talented. Two, her locks are goals. Yes. I'm trying to grow them like that. Okay. I am trying to grow a set like that. Oh, they're so majestic. Yes. And this past, I think sometime this fall, it's hard to tell exactly when, she had her debut at the Grand Ole Opry. And she is from Tennessee herself. So it is a big deal. In case you don't know, the Grand Ole Opry is like the place to perform if you're a country music artist. Like that is, you know, that's the mama I made it. Like if you so apparently she recently got to say mama I made it and performed on that stage and just wrote the most beautiful reflection on it on her Facebook page. If you look her up, you can check it out, just reflecting on, you know, seeing other artists who have been there, like growing up in Tennessee and that being the goal, and how important it is to her as a Black artist doing country music to have made it there. And, you know, she said she's not a person who talks about the obstacle that she's had that much as a Black country artist, although they've definitely been there. And I especially want to highlight like what she said about not focusing on that because it would be too just like soul sucking for her. And it just reminded me of like what this segment is all about the things that are life affirming for us, you know. And she acknowledges that, you know, for some people in my field who are also Black, like it is life affirming for them to speak up, or, you know, they're made for that. That's part of what they want to do, to speak up about racial issues specifically within it. And she's like, I have a different mission. Like that is so important. And like, I'm cheering those people on and I love what they're doing for all of us. But my music is just meant to have a different tone. And I just really love that. And I respect that, she is like, this is my lane, this is my mission. And like, I love what all of us are doing is so necessary moving forward. And it just made me love her even more. So check out Valerie June. And also, you know, through looking this up, I found out there's a whole website like dedicated to Black country artists called blackopry.com. So, you know, if that's something that you're interested in, check out Black Opry. I am not a huge country music fan, but I really, really enjoy it since it was presented to me when I was learning guitar as a youngin'. And so hearing it from that aspect, like studying guitar, just gave me a real appreciation for country music and for Black folks' place in it since the beginning. That was also made clear to me. That
since the beginning. Say that.
I mean, absolutely.
Yes.
It's not just Charlie Pride. It's a lot of folks who have done some really exemplary musical work in this space. Yeah, thank you for highlighting that page.
Yeah, I know how much of your stuff y'all get from Robert Johnson and Sister Rosetta Tharpe and people like that. Like, I know. That's it for me. Check out Valerie June.
I have a teensy little piece of pure Black joy coming from everybody on the Impact team. We are very excited to have Faye Chen with us. She is a staff member we hired this past summer after doing a national search. And because it was a national search, she was working remotely from Indiana for the last couple of months. And as we are recording this, she is right here in the office. It was so great to be in her presence today, and she's been such a wonderful addition to the team already that we just wanted to do a quick little salute to Faye about how excited we are to have her here. Welcome, Faye.
Welcome,
Yay,
Faye.
welcome.
Yeah, and my pure black joy, it's just, I'll keep it short and it's corny. And this has been my pure black joy before, but well, I have two. First, presumably, this is coming out on the 27th. So presumably I will be back in DC for the first time in 2 years. Thank you, coronavirus.
Oh,
wow. So just want to shout out Chocolate City, and I love all y'all, and I love all my friends and my family and my parents and my sister, my brother-in-law. So I just can't wait for those kinds of hugs, that kind of spirit. But also just, this podcast was sort of a little idea that Paige and I were bandying back and forth, like, wouldn't this be cool? And then Lee came in and said, yes, it would be cool, and I would also like to be a part of it.
Give me some.
And ever since then, this has just been the highlight. Every 2 weeks, getting to sit down with you and just be my authentic Black self in the middle of this crazy whirlwind of a year, and this crazy whirlwind of a company, and this crazy whirlwind of an industry, and really, talk things through, affect some change, meet some cool people, and, make some who I hope are lifelong friends. So y'all are my pure black joy. And I can't wait to see what kind of shenanigans we get into in 2022.
Because there will be shenanigans.
There will be shenanigans. So that's it. That's all I've got.
Oh, they did my old ticker good.
Oh, good. Well, everyone, that is it for today's show. We will be back in 2022 with all sorts of fantastic guests. We've got Janina Burnett, Broadway star, Met opera performer extraordinaire. We've got Nina Yoshida Nelson, co-founder of the Asian Opera Alliance. We've got costume designer Ari Fulton. We've got all sorts of people. We're going to fire the Canon some more, I'm sure. I think we're probably going to do something on Carmen, a hip opera. I hope, fingers crossed.
I heard that rumor too, yes.
Oh, somebody hinted at it.
Maybe. So there's all sorts of things, but the way that you can help all of those wonderful things come to fruition is to go and leave us 5 stars, 5. Cinco, like the golden rings on the tree that your true love gave to you or whatever. And, leave us a review if you are so inclined. Subscribe, tell all your friends, because we want to keep doing this. And we want to make our community as big as possible. Oh, and here's a funny story. I don't think I told either one of you. So we've been sitting here and we've been going, write to us at or the score at mnopera.org. We want to get your letters or whatever. And I was thinking, it's really strange that we haven't gotten one single email. Turns out,
not one.
Turns out, I looked into it. Turns out that the emails were not forwarding to me in the way that they should have. So all of your emails have been just lost on the internet for the last however many months. So if you get an email from me apologizing profusely for not answering your first 6 months, that's why. But it's all working properly now. All of the emails are coming to the correct inbox. I have been receiving them. Sorry about that. But we'll do better in 2022. We just sort of have to admit our mistakes, do some cleanup work, and we'll do better in 2022. So the score at mnopera.org is a thing that actually works now. Please write in. We want to hear from you. Ideas, potential guests, things you disagree with, things you agree with. And we actually might read your letter on here.
We promise you shenanigans.
Yeah, the shenanigans have started already. It's not
That's
even.
all we can promise. That's all we can promise, really.
Okay, everyone, go enjoy your new year. Have fun, and we will see you in January with some new, fresh content.
Hooray!
Yay! How exciting! All right, see you soon. Happy New Year!
Bye.
Bye.